Hello and welcome to yet another episode of Beyond the Bites, a show that deals with the trending issues of the region. While a decade and a half ago, schools and colleges were still considered the sole medium of disseminating knowledge, there has been a rapid rise in what many call alternative schooling in the form of tuition or coaching centers of late. The intense growth of such private tuition centers speak volumes about their success. In fact, it is hard to find a locality without a tuition or coaching center. And not only this, it is equally harder to find a student who is not associated with one of these tuition or coaching centers. What is the prime reason for this? Is it because schools and colleges have failed to meet the rising demands of modern-day percentage-based education? Or is it because the coaching centers have somehow been able to create a niche for themselves, riding on the fear of failure as far as the students are concerned? To decode these and much more, I have an esteemed group of panelists with me today. To my extreme left, I have Mrs. Anubha Goyal, the principal of Royal Global School. Thank you so much, ma'am, for coming to the show. I also have with me Dr. Padma Sharma Goswami, who is the HOD Economics, Cotton University. A very warm welcome, ma'am. To my right, I have Mr. Ridesh Shirodia, who is the CEO of Vector Educations. Welcome, sir. I also have with me Ms. Sabrina Iqbal Sarkar, also from Political Science Department, Cotton University. We also have among our midst Mr. Ranjan Barua, who is a career mentor. A very warm welcome, Ranjan, to the show. And last but not the least, we also have Dr. Garima Kalita, who was formerly associated with Cotton University and right now the USTM. A very warm welcome, ma'am. Thank you so much for making it to the show today. And not to forget, we have a very young bunch of audience here who I'm sure will have a lot of questions, a lot of inputs to give during the course of this discussion. Thank you so much, all of you, for making it here today on this panel. So I'll start with Mrs. Anubha Goyal, of course, ma'am. Do you think coaching centers have become a necessity in today's world? First words from you.
Now, first and foremost, we need to understand, are we talking about tuitions or coaching centers? Now, we need to understand that every education institution endeavors to give or impart quality education. I can speak for our school. We have small classrooms, and it's mandatory by the CBSE to have a trained faculty. We have the very best. So I fail to understand why children need to go for tuitions. Yes, but if they need to go for coaching for the professional courses, schools do not really cater for. Say for CLAT or for medical or for NID, NIFT, for these you do not cater, and that's fair enough if they're going for coaching classes. But as far as tuitions are concerned, if they're going to tuition centers to learn what they're taught in school, then it's a shame. But believe me, if the children pay attention in class, there's really no need for them to go. We have small classes, and
if the children pay attention, there's no need to go.
Yes.
First words from you, Dr. Goswami. Is it not true that an increasing number of students are still taking to coaching centers or tuition centers, however you may call them?
As a teacher of economics, I would like to address the problem, the topic of today's discussion, from two standpoints. One is demand, another is supply. Now, coaching centers are also business enterprises. So without say, demand, who will set up a coaching center? So since there is significant demand, that is why there is mushroom growth of coaching centers. Now there are certain, along with it, I would like to say another thing. There are certain demand-related factors which I would like to emphasize or state in brief. So one I would like to say is, say the teacher-student ratio in my times was very favorable, but over the time it has become significantly skewed. So that is one point I feel, and this is more so, may not be in case of Mrs. Goyal. Hers is a private school, but I'm talking about the non-private educational institutions where enrollment over the years is increasing because of low fee structure, and that is one. And obviously for a teacher to give personalized attention to each and every student is becoming difficult, and without personalized, what will you say, attention to, especially in subjects like say maths, science, languages, it is extremely.
So there is clearly a demand. First words from you, sir, on the issue. Coaching centers are often seen as quote unquote business centers. Your thoughts?
No, sir. I totally disagree on the fact that you are saying. I can give you an example, like a very short story. Before 1980s, there was almost no coaching institute that is flourished in this particular area or anywhere in this India, we can say. Okay, but as soon as the number of student aspiration for various competitive exams have grown throughout the time, the necessity of such centers is very much needed right now. Why? Because if you need a skill for a particular exam, because just for example, for JEE or IIT exam, 15 lakh of students are appearing per year, and the total good seats to become an engineer is around 30,000. Then how come how can the normal conventional approach of hard work and just to accumulate the knowledge can survive in this particular field? So of course, coaching center is much more determined to give you that particular raw set of skills, which will be beneficial for you during any competitive exam.
So
we are much more in. We are
qualifying.
So
I mean, if you were giving quality.
Let me complete first, and then of course you people are much more experienced than me. I am just 10 years in the field. You people are having more than 30 years in the field. So the thing is, I can say the conventional approach of education need to be coherent with this particular skill giving approach. Okay, so I need that school and coaching should work together in such a platform which will be beneficial for not only students.
But I think there are certain points like coherent approaches, you said it is, but to that I would like to add there are certain problems. First part, I'm not against coaching.
I'll take your reactions on that. If I can have the first views first from all our guests today. Sabrina, conventional education not working for students as it should. Your first thoughts very quickly.
Actually, the thing is that, when it comes to coaching and tuitions, however we like to address it, there are many nuances to these issues. It's not as simple as it appears on the surface. You have to take into account the backdrop of the students that they come from. You have to take into account the institution that we're talking about, whether it's a school or a college. And we also have to take into account the fields that they want to go in. Of course, there are, certain failures on the part of the conventional educational system, which is actually not the fault of the conventional educational system, but rather of the structure. There are many structural discrepancies which are operating at various levels, which actually make the system, inefficient or unable to deliver. And that is why, like ma'am said, there is this increasing demand for coaching centers because, there are, lack at both the ends of the structure as well as the receiving end of the students. That is why they go for, these coaching centers or tuitions to fill up the blanks, what they miss out in the classes.
So I would like Ranjan to come in here. Ranjan, there is clearly seems to be a...
I would like to add to what she...
Yes, there seems to be a problem with the conventional structure. Does that make coaching tuition centers the need of the hour as far as students are concerned? Ranjan, your first thoughts?
So we are talking about IIT and JEE or say NEET. But how many coaching centers are there who are training you for NDA and CDS exams? NDA is one of the base exam after +2. Now demand and supply, who creates this demand? Why more focus on IIT? Why more focus NET? Ma'am said NIFT or others, but NDA being one of the base where they can go to defense forces and they could even do more. So now the question is, of course, traditional system and the schooling and all this, there are loopholes and there are failures, but at the same time, we also look at the people who are running these coaching centers are more into money than into that of quality. But one example I can show you, like many of us we have already seen, like already one of the panelists said, how many come for the coaching centers? Thousands, more than 1,000. And in advertisement board, we can see picture of only 1 or 2%. So if 1 or 2% got selected, where are the other 200 or 500?
We shall come to the stats and a lot of that in course of our discussion.
Of course, so that's the thing. So it says it's been mushrooming and then demand and supply, of course, but this is from whether student side or someone business involved. So I see more business into it.
If I can get Dr. Garima Kalita in here. Dr. Kalita, do you think schools and colleges have clearly failed to reassure the students that they do not need to opt for these coaching or tuition centers?
Of course not. That's a very, you are just talking about in a very extreme way. But then it's not at all. It's not the reality. The reality is, of course, as my former speaker has said, that yes, it's a kind of a situation in which we have to create some demands, because already it's not at all a debatable point whether it's mushrooming or whether it's, so it's already been happening, but already we have been just having the adverse effects of all these situations. So it's now the time is for us to show and see how things can be more beneficial to the society, how students who are deprived or who haven't gotten the good results or got the good results of it can be made more profitable. So that's what perhaps is the idea now. That's the question now. So that's what I just think about.
Yeah, need to look ahead for the benefit of students. I would like Mrs. Goyal to come in here. Mrs. Goyal, you just mentioned at the beginning of the show that, of course, while the school is providing facilities and the education, the learning, as far as the regular course is concerned, maybe on the specialized courses or the aspirations of students to go for a specialized course, the school may not be able to always cater to that. Fair enough. But what we see is that even for the regular subjects, be it the physics, maths, chemistry, English, history, name one, and students are going for tuitions for every subject. So have not the schools clearly failed to deliver on those fronts? No. I'm not questioning the teachers of the school, but why this trend continues despite, as you say, the efforts from the school?
That is what is truly disappointing and depressing. I think it's the trend of the day. And here I would also like to make the parents a little responsible. Exactly. Because parents feel if my child is going for tuitions, he would do well. Yes. But let me tell you, I think it's a complete fallacy. It worsens the child when he goes for tuitions because he does not pay attention in class. He knows tuition teacher पढ़ा देगा और tuition में वो सोचता है कि school में करेगा. So as a result, he is at sea. But if every child is conscientious and responsible, I'm sure the concept of tuitions wouldn't have been required. Again, our classrooms, in fact, most dedicated educators would want to take tuition even if they do in smaller groups. But we see tutorials are such huge groups that where is the individual attention? A child who's doing badly would do badly for 3 reasons. Either he does not pay attention. Secondly, he does not put in any effort on his own. And thirdly, if he's got a learning disability. I'm saying this at the school level. So we need to first identify where the problem lies. And from there, take it up.
Is it a fair statement, Ranjan? Is it a fair statement? Can we pretend that the children are going to tuitions because it is a trend and that the parents want their words to actually go for tuitions because everybody else is doing? Can we pretend that it is that way? That is a fact.
It will vary from person to person. And many parents who never become doctors or engineers, they definitely want their kids to be doctor engineers. So they will force them. So one part is that they will force them, they are going to put any number, whatever amount of money. So the kid, particularly in class 10 or 11 or 12, he or she cannot take that much decision because you have to pay for tuition or you have to pay for coaching. He or she doesn't have that money. So of course parents, but in some cases not exactly the same. In some cases, like in some schools, still their tuitions, school where we were never into any tuitions because we had good teachers in the quality teachers we had. But yes, what ma'am said, it varies. But again, teachers and parents, of course, not only parents, we have to also blame teachers in this front. Because you cannot, if I teacher, I would blame parents. Being parents, I would blame teacher. At the end, who is in the victim is the child. So I would rather say that both we have to find out. Yes, somewhere the problem there. The problem is also with teachers, problem is also with the parents.
And the child.
Child would be later on. Because child, he or she, I don't think so, at the age of 14 or 15, he or she take that much decision that he or she is not that much skill. So I would blame more into teacher and the parents.
No, for him to understand the everyday studies. Yeah. He needs to reinforce every day and be a regular student who does his homework every day on a regular basis.
Ridesh, I want you to, I would like to come in here. Can the schools pretend that it is because going for tuitions, going for coaching is a trend, that's why coaching centers are mushrooming?
I am partially agreed and partially disagreed. I am just, I mean to say, I am just saying that school education is no doubt important. Why? Because school education will make you a better human being, like sincerity, punctuality, discipline. These things will not be taught in a particular coaching institute. These should be incorporated by a school, that is an education institution. Coachings are not educational institution. They are the hub for learning, the skill learning, or for a particular exam like NDA or any exam like IIT, JEE and all. What is required here, and I can say about the same thing about coaching. In coaching, we doesn't impart those things in a particular child. What we do, we will try to give the maximum amount of application based knowledge to the student. Like in physics and chemistry, in math, we will look after the application point of view. A better view.
Yes, carry on. Carry on.
Coaching centers, you have absolutely
The
prototype.
thing
You're
is,
not catering to each individual child's.
just for an example, let us assume I am in class 11th. I am a regular student of class 11th, and I have joined a very reputed school, and I am going to school. I am waking up at 7 o'clock, and I am going to school, and 8 hours after school at 2 p.m. I will be running behind a coaching or a tuition center.
Exactly.
And after 9 or 10 p.m. I am getting free from the both kind of education. And now I know nothing. What I have gained? I have plenty of doubts. I am having a homework from school also that is teaching us a different chapter, and I am having a knowledge from a coaching institute that is teaching a rather different topic or chapter. Still,
So is it the harsh truth?
I am having
is
doubts.
It the harsh truth
I am
of
having
today?
problems.
Is it the harsh truth of today?
Yeah, of course. I am having problems. I am having doubts. I am having each
But
and
who is
everything.
clearing up the
But
doubts?
there is nothing. There is no
Yeah,
one to
here
help me.
I would like to make a couple of points. I'm not agree with ma'am. I'm agree with Ranjanda because the teacher coaching center is increasing. It is because of teachers. I would like to one example. Suppose one teacher is BSc teacher. With due respect of the teacher, I am from vernacular medium. Suppose one teacher is a BSc teacher. He is giving importance to the students on classroom who is getting tuitions from morning in his house.
See,
or
those
in his particular chamber.
those
And
are-
one thing,
see,
teachers
those
in a
are
classroom,
specific cases.
in a classroom,
specific cases.
60,
We
70
cannot-
students
we
is there.
cannot
I'm not
paint-
speaking about private institution.
We
I'm
cannot
speaking
paint
about the
all
government
black.
schools.
Of course, there are
So
cases.
specific.
We'll address this question. But these are specific cases. Let's take
Not
the general
specific.
cases.
You can say
Let
general.
us
Yeah,
complete.
we'll take that up. Of course, we'll come to that.
Let
We'll
me
come to
complete.
that.
I think
What
it
I am
should be
saying.
given.
I am saying that school education is no doubt important. Coaching altogether is also important. Why? Because coaching will add up on the educational quality of the student that is must for the competitive
so
exam.
our
I do
schools,
not
our
agree
schools,
that
our
your
schools.
coaching may be important for average and below average students, but for bright students, brilliant
in any
students,
case will
in these days of knowledge explosion, when you can get vast mass of knowledge at the click of the mouse, if you have a laptop, internet connection, and I don't think for brilliant students coaching is really
No, but we have to.
Conventional exam systems
but that will
are
also
absolute in
change over
nature.
the years.
Are absolute in nature. That means, just assume a situation. I am going for a class 12th exam. What I will aspire for if I need to pass the exam, 33%. I know it. I know it well before the exam. But if I am going for an NDA exam or a JEE exam, what I will aspire for? 90%, 95%. What is the level that is required is unknown in relative exam system, which is the competitions. So of course,
I
would
skilled
think,
approach is required.
Coaching centers, they're two very
Yes,
different
yes.
things.
And
we are
Yours is
confusing
a-
the two. So let's not even mix it up.
Yeah, that is a very
A very-
important point.
Yes, that's
and
the
you know
first
what
and
happens
foremost.
here?
I'm
I think
talking about
Yes,
colleges.
there still seems to be clearly a gap which the tuition and coaching centers are
Centers,
cashing
yes.
in.
Yeah.
On
Yeah.
this note,
No, we can't mix it up.
on this note, we shall go for a very short break. Don't go anywhere. Lots more coming up on the other side. Welcome back. You're watching Beyond the Bites. We're discussing the mushrooming of coaching and tuition centers. Is it because of the failure of schools to address the key issues of the students? Dr. Sabrina Iqbal wanted to make a point before the break. Yes, Sabrina, continue.
Yes. I think, all the points that are coming up here, I think a very important issue needs to be taken into account, and that is the matter of orientation. A lot of students, I don't think it's a fault, but a lot of students tend to believe that class teaching is not enough. And that is the reason why they go for increasing number of coaching classes. And yes, I would like to make another point that it is very important we maintain this distinction between tuitions and coaching classes, because the coaching classes like the IITG and all that, they are more like specialized learning, which is kind of necessary if you want to crack those exams. But as far as tuitions are concerned for college learning, for example, BA, MA and stuff, then what happens is that, I think I being a university teacher and ma'am being a university teacher, we would agree that we put sufficient amount of hard work, into our classes. I often show my students, that look at, this is my class diary, which I have prepared for my classes, So when it comes to college level teaching in classes like MA, BA, I think classes suffice, more or less, largely on the part of, standard universities. But there again, I have to say that yes, when we're talking about colleges in the suburbs and rural areas, there might be certain loopholes there. But when it comes to some certain standardized educational institutions, yes. And here again, when we talk about, universities in the Kamrup Metro, for example, there are many students, like one of the members from the audience had said, they come from rural areas, and they have difficulties in picking up the lecture in class because they cannot understand. And we also as teachers, we have some, obligations that we have to conduct the classes in English because we're catering to a multilingual audience.
So are we trying to say that people from the so-called better institutes, students from the better institutes are not taking, if I can say, tuition classes or coaching centers? I think we cannot agree to that. So. Yes, somebody from the audience wanted to make a point.
I need to ask that how do so many students fail in spite of working hard and joining these institutions?
That is something I'm sure.
Can you come again, please? It was not clear.
Okay. I needed to ask that how do so many students fail?
They don't crack the competitive exams.
In spite of working hard and joining this institution.
The success rate.
Just a small, response to that. It's a matter of individual capability also. Somebody might put in a lot of hard work and not succeed, and while somebody might just put in a little bit of work and succeed.
And every child is not
institution for a student's failure.
Self-help is the best.
Yes.
If I may put...
and every child is not meant to be there for the coaching.
Well, the question that has come, it's really maybe that's there in the mind of the public, okay? Why so little, why so few people are successful, but then so many are admitted all the time? So I think, I don't know, as our colleague is here, so he is conducting an coaching institute, and we are teachers, simple teachers. But then what we have seen also as guardians, that students, it's a very competitive world now, okay? So we have to think about the situation, the society, the mind, the viewpoints and the world view, everything we have to take into account, because to analyze all this perhaps is going to the root of the problem. So to know it, we have to just see how they have been kind of groomed up, and then how it's very competitive, everyone knows, but then how far a student can work, and how is it possible for the student to work? How many hours can he work or toil? So this is what perhaps is the crux of the problem. And then some people, of course, all the guardians, maybe including us, so we just admit the students and think that yes, because we are here in the institute and they are going to come out successful. But then it's not magic. So people have to work hard, and then
point
the
taken.
institute also.
Point taken. Yes. But Ranjan,
I'll just say in different way. Like one of the colleagues said, say how many seats are available in the medical college or engineering colleges? Yeah. So I believe number is 10,000, and when you are coming 1 lakh of candidates who are trying to take admissions, so it's not possible. Even they do best, all will never get. But here the things comes. Coaching center will never tell you how many disqualified in that year. They will only paste 1 or 2 picture of the person who got selected. Exactly. So now that shows clearly, it's more than service. It's like a business. Very simple. Because they could have said, they could have stopped us.
We need to understand how many qualify. Last year, almost 12 lakhs appeared, of which only about 2 lakhs qualified. So why that disparity?
Because the number of seats, the infrastructure available in this country is having that much of number of seats available.
No, number
Try
of
to
seats
understand.
are less than
Try
that,
to
but
understand.
qualifying is different.
It is not a normal exam in which the result is around 99% have been passed class 12th exam. The number of seats are very few. The number of seats are very less. You can say in IIT, we are having 24 IITs right now, and the number of seats is around 10,000. And people aspiring for 10,000 seats are more than 15 lakh. So there will always be less number of selection as compared to the number of aspirants that is those are applying for it.
No,
That's
those
true, but only problem is
those
that
who
they
get the
will
seat and
never
those who
mention
qualify are
disqualified
two
one.
different
They
things.
only mention how many got
thing is-
selected.
Yes.
So it's clearly money. So they want more and more
But
students.
can we blame them? Can we blame them
As
for
I
showing
said,
their
More and
success
more,
at the same time?
more and more aspirants are increasing. Sir, before 10 years, when I have given JEE, the total number of aspirants was 1.5 lakh. Within 10 years, the total number of seats just increased 2 or 3 folds, but the number of candidates aspired for the same seat have grown more than 10 times. There is a gap. Again, the supply and demand rule applies here, as the madam told us before.
Ms. Goyal, you are saying something about qualifying. Would you like to make that point
No,
again?
what I was saying is there's a difference in the number of seats and those who qualify. First, they need to qualify in those exams. Like last year, almost only 2,000 qualified from the 2 lakhs qualified from the 12 lakhs. And of course, seats are 8,000 or whatever,
Ma'am,
I don't know.
I think I need to
Yes.
add a particular information
Yes.
in the discussion. JEE or getting into IIT is a two-step process.
No, I'm talking of the JEE.
First is JEE main.
Yes, absolutely.
In which 15 lakh will apply for the JEE
Yes,
main
yes.
exam, and few of the colleges
Yes,
like NITs
yes.
and all CFTIs will take a student from the
Yes.
JEE main.
Yes.
But for JEE advanced, the IIT will select 1.5 lakh.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I
So,
think
so IITs is selecting 1.5 out of the 15 lakh, and they will conduct another exam.
Yes,
So
yes.
I think
qualifying
the
is not
problem,
necessary.
the problem comes back, to square one. That it is actually because in a classroom, the students go for coaching because they do not receive enough attention. But again, in the coaching center classroom, I think we are back to square one because it is more or less the same dilemma.
So it's a
because
circle.
like
It's a
they
circle,
said,
isn't it?
No,
What is
and
saying?
the coaching centers are
What I
bigger.
have
There
pointed
was
out
almost
before.
100 students
yes.
there, which
What
is
I
bigger
have
than a
pointed
normal
out.
classroom.
Yeah.
I
And
have,
it's
I have,
absolutely-
I have many from the audience. We have some questions. Yes,
Sir.
Vishal, there. Go ahead, quickly.
Well, I've been listening to all of your views, and some very interesting views you have given. But I would just like to contradict on one point, actually, that ma'am said that students pay less of attention to schools and colleges and all. But let me put one point. Like, if we see your curriculum, if we see your course, now those appearing for a JEE mains exam, those appearing for AIMS exam, we find a vast difference between the course books and those questions that are put in the question paper. Now, in that scenario, how can we say that our classes will take forward in those examinations? In that scenario, we need coaching institutions. But I'm not about that point of high education fees in coaching institutions, but at present, I feel it is necessary. We cannot deny the fact that we will go and crack any examinations just by attending our classes.
No,
So
that's what
I
we
think
said.
what-
If
what
the
we
children
said
are
that-
going,
when it
no,
comes,
that's what we said.
something,
If the children are going for professional courses, they would require coaching. But as
that is
far as
required.
the JEE main is concerned, believe me, in this year's paper, out of the 30 questions on chemistry, 24 were from the NCERT book. So if a child is thorough,
Are we submitting that without coaching centers, none
Navanda,
of our
just-
students will be able to clear any
No,
of
Navanda,
these
just-
professional
That is not
exams?
at all.
That is not a case.
I think
I have
think
an
we
example
just-
in front of you.
we just need
I
to.
have not
I
taken
think
any
only
coaching.
what we're
20%
discussing.
is
That's the point. That's the point. Even our respected panelists are making that students are going for coaching because of.
I have seen
examination.
people.
No,
I have
I
seen
think only
people
20%
scoring.
One
minute, one minute.
I think we
I
need
have
to
seen-
widen the scope of the debate because I think we are going in one particular direction.
Exactly.
And we are not talking about that particular stream or that particular entrance exam only. We're talking about mushrooming
Absolutely.
of coaching
That is the
centers
point.
overall.
That is the
And I
point.
think we need
Yeah.
to broaden the scope
That
of the
is the
debate.
point. That is the point we are trying to make.
That
Why are
is
we
why
only
I
talking?
started with
Why are we
demands.
only talking
Yes.
about? Why are we only talking about professional courses?
Yes,
What
we're
about the
talking about
regular
general-
courses?
yes,
What about
there are?
Exactly.
Yes, I would like to.
started my
Can our schools
Yes.
can our schools ignore that students are taking coaching, joining coaching centers for physics, chemistry, maths,
Yes,
history,
that is
English,
different.
socio?
Yes,
Think of it,
exactly.
it is there.
Could I say
Can we
something?
ignore? Can we
Yeah.
just say only for professional courses students are going for coaching? There is a bigger question we have to
Could
address
I-
today. Yes, somebody
Could
from the
I
audience
add
want to make another
something?
point very quickly.
Could I add something?
Yeah, of course.
We are talking about higher level educations here like JEE, NIT. But what is the main root of the education? The school systems. the school systems, we are coming, I have just passed out my school, and there it is not a trend, it is a belief that if you take coaching centers or education like from tuitions, then you can pass out your examinations. The main root is here. From the school system, it starts from the mindset.
That sums up what we are trying to discuss today. How do you address this, Mrs. Goyal? How do you address this concern? And that is not the concern of one student or two students. There's a widespread belief today. How do teachers, heads of institutes address this concern?
No,
I would like to add a point.
That is a matter of concern. But believe me, I can speak for our school. We have a lot of remedials. We have a lot of extra classes. Our classrooms are small. So we insist that every child come back to us. But again, what children feel most of the time, ghar ki murgi dal barabar. They rather go to another teacher than go to their own school teacher. You know,
Ma'am, this is a situation of only one school. But I have visited in Assam. I have visited almost each and every district, and I have seen the problem in the school. There is no infrastructure. There is lack of good faculties. There is lack of a curriculum or a learning-based method.
That is true. But you know, I think it would be a very wrong to make a sweeping statement like that. We cannot make sweeping statements here because you know the educational institutions or the educational infrastructure is something which has many layers. You know, and one point I think we all have missed out is very sadly the quality of teachers in the rural and suburban areas especially is not up to the mark. The reason why the students there, they nurture the quality, they nurture the habit of going to coaching classes. And when they go on to higher education, they continue to believe in that coaching will help. But by that time, maybe the standard of education of the institutions that they are in are by far, you know, up above the mark of the institutions that they were attending in the rural areas. So the quality of teachers is a big question mark.
That is one point I would like to add to what she's saying. See, in my father's time, they were teachers by choice. Today, teachers are, you know, they are not by choice.
by
they don't, yeah, that is the thing. Salaries, pay packets are good, or they are not able to get jobs anywhere else, so they become teachers. So obviously, and another thing is, the point to be noted, at least in my university, I've seen one point is the semester, we are adopting semester system. So under semester system, effectively teaching period is barely say 3 to 4 months.
3 to 4 months, exactly.
Yes?
Yes.
Syllabus has become complex, extensive. You have to keep pace with the changing times. Teachers, obviously, some of the, by and large, I'm not generalizing, by and large, teachers are not able to keep pace with the changing demands of time. So because previously, a teacher was supposed to teach only. But today, a teacher has to think about API score, because otherwise, my promotion, I'll not be promoted. I think she will also agree.
Yes, so I think,
here,
very important things are being talked about, and we can widen, as she said, that we can widen the scope of our discussion, because it's a broader society that we have come here, and then the market that we are now, denouncing here. So the market that is now engrasping everyone, and then, tuition houses. So maybe we do not have any problem with the tuition houses. We do not have any problem with the coachings, as I have seen it. No problem with the additional kind of an input which perhaps a student will be benefit from. But then the question is, why so much money? Why so much money is demanded? And maybe it's a broader question of some people having more money and so many people not having, and having that much of money to kind of prepare their students awards for the competitive world. So I think that's the thing.
But again, that's the case. Again, that's the case with schools also. That's not just let's blame.
No, you take money, but you give quality education.
No, and today also, I think there's too much of competitiveness. So that is killing everyone.
A couple of years back, cutoff for economics in SRCC Delhi was 100%.
Yes.
So
when
obviously,
when I was in Delhi, the cutoff for sociology was 90 something. This was, early 2000s.
So that mental block is always
there.
But
I think a major problem, along with whatever we are discussing right now, like ma'am said, there is a competitiveness, which is actually very harmful to the health of the students. But I think along with that, a very major concern that we should address is that coaching or tuitions, they are not just issues right now. They've become a culture.
Yes,
Exactly.
You know,
absolutely.
They've become a culture.
It's a
And that is why
fashion today.
every
That is
person, every
necessary.
student. And you know, here again, I would like to point out that even parents who are not really well off, parents who belong from the lower middle class section, they will somehow arrange the money.
Absolutely.
And they will send their wards to tuition or coaching classes because they think otherwise they would not be doing enough. That kind of culture is what is harmful.
Absolutely,
Sort of
absolutely,
demonstration
absolutely.
effect.
It has become a culture, but who is responsible for this, if at all? I will address this right after a very short break. Welcome back. You're watching Beyond the Bytes. We're discussing the mushrooming of coaching centers. Is it because schools and colleges are not doing their jobs well? Now, before the break, we had Dr. Iqbal pointing out that that coaching centers and tuition centers have become a sort of culture today. I have many among the audience who want to make a point here. Yes.
Actually, as before the break, we were discussing that it is becoming a fashion, it is becoming a trend, and it is not our fault also, because when parents sees that other students are qualifying because of the coaching institute, they also aspires that yes, my child can also go. But one thing I would like to say here, that because I'm a science student, at presently I'm a MSc student, but 2 to 3 years prior, even I had given the exams like JEE, NEET. But what happens is that it is not that they come from aliens, like people are discussing today that the courses are different, the syllabus is different. As ma'am said, Goel ma'am said, that things are coming from the CBSE NCERT course only. So if this education is given in school in a right way, if they are given, because you see, we spend our most of the time in schools, and like you are going school, again you are coming home, and again you are going to the coaching classes, and how could you correlate? You have no time enough. That's why what is happening, that only the brilliant ones are qualifying the exams, and the students, they are not getting it. So the main thing is that we are not getting the time.
It all becomes a mad rush.
Yes,
Mad
so
rush.
what we should do is that thing should be imposed on the
So
school
it
itself,
it
not
it
like
comes
the other
back,
institutions.
Ranjan,
20% I think gets benefited, rest I don't think so.
But you know, you have to understand, it's nobody's fault. Like you said, it's not your fault, it's nobody's fault. It's a fault of the entire system that we are in. Yes, it is not students'
I think
fault,
the
not
mindset,
teachers.
the mindset,
It is manufactured by the circumstances.
I'll come back. I'll put it money. See, the students taking coaching in 11 and 12, how many are from government schools they are coming? Just look at the count. If they're coming from private schools, that means they can pay. And look at the same fee in those private schools. How many private schools are giving you a subsidized rate? None of them.
None of them.
So now look at the thing. Now it's all connected to money and mushrooming. See, I am not against coaching centers. Coaching centers, if they really provide quality, well enough, fine enough. But if they're misleading people in the name of coaching and making money, that is raising question in our mind. Just one, she said that all those, yes, everyone who has put this in their mind. Some teachers, some parents should come later.
But again, Ranjan, as a parent, if I am paying, I am paying a hefty fees to a private school, to an institute of repute. Why do I need to again put my word back to a coaching center? And a little while back, we are discussing about students from the rural areas, from suburbs, who may not have access to quality education. But what about the best schools in the city? Even students from those schools are forced to go for coaching centers.
That's the negative demand has been created. You have been put in your ears that you have to go to coaching centers.
Is it just that?
Yes,
no,
of course.
Let me tell you, being a reputed school, we insist and we, in fact, tell every child that they really don't need to go. Even the 11s and 12s, we insist. In fact, a few years back, we did start concept tuitions. And we felt it just wasn't beneficial for the students, and so we stopped it. And now our teachers do help our students to prepare for the JEE mains in school itself. And that's how the chemistry teachers told us about the question papers that from NCERT books, because we discussed it in school. I'm aware of it.
So is it a negative demand, Ridesh? Is it a negative demand?
JEE exam that you are talking about?
No, only for the JEE.
I am saying it. Actually, the school education is, as you are saying, that each and every question is from NCERT. No doubt the syllabus of each and every competition, which is after 12, is based on NCERT. JEE Main will write the syllabus in the same set of fundamentals that is required to clear JEE Main. But what happens, the questions are from the theory part is good, but the application part is missing in school.
Correct.
That is required.
Exactly.
No, maybe the nuances they learn there.
Madam, 24 questions.
Application part missing in schools is a very big statement. That's a very big statement to make.
24 questions, no doubt. Almost 30 questions are from NCERT. I can say it. Why? Because the syllabus is same. What is missing? The application of the syllabus to a bigger or a broader level.
It's actually not about questions, I think. It's more about concepts.
Yes.
And I think,
Absolutely.
you know, and I think a problem which I have, you know, like Mr. Ranjan said, we don't have issues with coaching centers, all right? But we have to understand that we are not for coaching centers as alternative centers of learning.
Correct.
Yes.
To conventional educational system, all right? Yes, we do need coaching centers as centers of specialized learning
Correct.
to crack specialized exams.
Yeah, of course.
All right, there is, and we have to understand that there is a difference between alternative centers of learning and specialized centers of learning, because there are certain kinds of guidance which is available to students in these kind of institutions, why they are running, why there is a demand for them. But at the same time, you know, we have to understand that, you know, we cannot let the coaching centers, like you were saying, why should you pay for the coaching center when you're already paying for the conventional school system, all right? That has to be taken into account because it's a kind of money net.
Is concept-based learning missing from our schools? I can see somebody from the audience wants to make a point. Yes.
Speaking from the student's point of view, a student gets up at 7 a.m., goes to school, comes back at 2 p.m. Right after having the lunch, he goes for the tuitions or coaching classes. Now, how many coaching classes are there in today that are dealing with schools and teachers to provide the exact same applications of education to the students as provided by the coaching institute? A Newton law remains a Newton law in the class and in the coaching class itself.
No doubt.
If the applications of the teachers provided in the coaching institute can be incorporated in the school.
That's what is the necessity of
there
this
is
time.
a necessity.
It all comes back. Does it all, Ranjan, comes back to the point that schools are lacking concept-based approach? Is that the case? Application-based, concept-based. Yes. Yes.
I'll just a small point which just struck me, that yes, I think it's a very important question that has been raised. Who said it? I just forgot. But then concept-based education is, I think, is missing. From my experience as a teacher for all these years, when we had done it long back, it's dated now. I'm not going to talk about it. But then a thing was there that we had to form concepts. To know the reality around, we had to form concepts, and then knowledge came that way, and then application came next. But nowadays, do we have time to go for concepts, one particular thing? Do we have very, very efficient teachers to talk about concepts or make the students comprehend concepts? So that is a very important thing.
Yes,
that's perhaps we have to introspect. Being teachers, we have to think about that.
Yeah.
And do we give enough time to the students, which is needed now because of the changing world? So
yeah, that's a very big point. That's a very big point that you have made, Dr. Kalita. Dr. Iqbal, Mrs. Goyal, do you think concept-based, application-based education approach is missing both in our schools and colleges, be it in institutes, be it the top institutes, and that is coming from somebody who was formerly associated with your university? I know. Yes. So these are very strong words coming in from somebody who has been a part of the system.
Yes. I think what ma'am said, it's a very important consideration which has to be taken into account. But I would like to speak on behalf of colleges and universities, because I think as centers of higher education, as centers of higher learning, we are thriving on conceptual education. That is what we are there for. We are there to correct and clarify the concepts of students. But again, like I said in one part of the debate, there is a need to reorient the students' approach. The students are not, largely, I don't want to make a sweeping statement, but largely, education has become exam-oriented. We are not, the students are not really there for clarifying their concepts. They are actually interested in getting more marks.
Is it true?
And that is not their fault.
I want to know it from the young audience here. Is it?
See what is required.
Yes, go ahead.
Also, apart from the coaching centers for specialized courses, we see that the teachers, school teachers and college teachers give tuition.
No,
so
out here, right here, we are addressing the specific question of whether concept-based, application-based education is missing from our institutes.
Concept-based education, it is not possible. possible in present time. I agree with Madam, because our syllabus is too vast and the time is too short.
Don't you think that calls for more of a concept-based approach, because the syllabus is in the contrary, that calls for a more concept-based approach?
It is student like me, I am emphasized on concept, not as a mark.
But let me tell you,
if we concept our very much thing, everything on the subject matter, definitely we will get more mark. But we are related on notes, we are related on our only marks.
Exactly.
That is the main problem.
Yes, yes.
Our student, that is the problem from the student side also, because the student needs only notes. They ask to the ma'am, give the notes, not the concept. And ma'am is sometimes bound to give the notes. That is also the main problem in our schooling system and college.
Ma'am had said that, the cutoffs are in the 90s.
They are interested only in the marks, not in the concept.
And let me tell you one thing, my dear student, you are interested in concept, but students like you are a rarity. Because most of the students, I have no offense, I'm just stating facts.
Because no one really learns for knowledge, they learn for marks.
They have been told by the teachers. They have been told by teachers you have to top. I would blame teachers in this, because all teachers say if you get 100 on 100, you are
no,
great.
and they say the same thing in the coaching centers also.
Still,
you just need to get
you show me how.
No, ma'am, this is not the problem related to teachers. This is the problem system, because if you don't get 90%, your neighbor will answer, oh, your person.
So it's okay. So basically,
that is society. That is our society.
Basically,
that is the main problem.
Let's just put it into the proper dimensions of the debate. When we're talking about marks, I'm not saying it's the student's fault. And as far as concept-based education goes, it's not the teacher's fault either. Like we are saying, it is the fault of the structural discrepancies which are existing.
See, what is required? What is required right now is the association of conventional as well as professional education into the same roof. This is required right now. What is required? Whatever the lack in the conventional approach should be taken care of by taking a proper professional people in the board, or in this conventional approach. We need to mix. We need both of them. We need to mix a blend such that the student community would be much more better.
But again, Ranjan, if we come back to the issue of coaching centers and tuition centers, they are also being blamed for prototyping students spoon feeding.
Exactly.
With spoon feeding,
there is a saying actually
doing more harm than good.
Absolutely prototype.
I would like to add
that is an allegation, Ranjana, and I'm sure Ridesh will have a lot to say about it.
It is often said for engineering students that there is quota, K-O-T-A, quota, and quota has got a quota.
See, ma'am.
That is the thing. So they practice the same thing over and over again.
Ma'am, what is going on in quota is they have from 2002 they have incorporated the same system in which school and coaching are integrated. That means whatever gap our school is having, is fulfilled by professional team of teachers.
But Ranjan, aren't these very coaching institutes curbing free thinking by telling the students this is how you need to do.
Absolutely.
This is what your approach should be.
Yes.
This is how you are expected to go ahead.
That would be there when they are committed. Now these faculties are coming for money. See how they bargain when they join the coaching centers. And look at who owns these coaching centers. How many educationists really own these coaching centers?
Absolutely.
Look at the route.
I am not talking about any other. But I have got education, whatever I am having right now, I have got education from this place only. The IIT Guwahati, that has given me the education. I am just returning back the favor. I am not into the business.
No, I'm not saying that.
I am training more and more people.
Coaching center, even schools. There might be one or two examples.
There may be one.
But you look at, can you show me all the institutes owned by, most are owned by business person, or they are putting money. I can show you. If you can count, I can show you. Where people are just putting money and they are seeing it as good business.
There may be a case, but what is required?
More. They are not an A case.
What is required?
There can be A case where people are doing self-service, like the Super 30 model or something. That's where there's a challenge by them that, okay, we are going to take up BPL people, and BPL people are not going to pay you. Now, what we need is coaching center with some ethics and integrity. They should also say, yes, we are going to take up people from different corners, and we'll make sure we'll at least make them at least this.
I would like to make a point
here. My little knowledge in coaching industry, 12 years of experience, I have seen almost each and every coaching institute is giving few number of seat for BPL category students.
But even more advertisement. That I see as an advertisement stunt. No. They conduct. I can show you. They conduct this test. They take the phone number. They call it. I can show you. It's a indirectly marketing trend for them. They get database. They theoretically database. Not how many service.
I would like to add what Mr. has said.
Dr.
Something, I actually have, on my personal basis, no offense to anyone, I have serious issues with the term edupreneurship. I don't think there can be a term as edupreneurship, because to me that's an oxymoron. It's either education or it's entrepreneurship. There cannot be
why education have become business then?
Exactly.
Can you elaborate?
That you should answer.
Before 1980s,
that is
there's no need for any education business.
But right now, education. I would like to tell my colleague, please don't take anything personally, because you've been doing that. It's just a generic, a statement that we are making. That edupreneurship is at the core of the problem, because we are treating education as a business. And when we are talking about coaching centers as alternative centers of learning, do they actually fulfill the purpose of alternative centers of learning? Because, like you said, the teachers
Dr. Kalita, end of the day, why are we blaming the coaching centers? They exist because of an existing failure in the system. Why can't we accept there is a failure and try to plug it? And what steps are we taking to do that as educational institutes, as colleges?
Okay, let's not call it the failure of the institutes, but then maybe some deficiencies that have cropped up because of the time and because of the systems that have been sprung up around us. So now what is it that now I think, as Ranjan has said, the word I am taking, a kind of an ethics, kind of a moral. I think a little bit of ethics and moral should be incorporated with this entrepreneurship, okay? Yeah. So because that's needed.
Another very valid
that's
point
a very important thing. I think we should see it that way. Otherwise, students here already they have said that yes, we need tuition or we need coaching, because they need it, because within this span of this huge syllabus which has been being enhanced by the authorities or by the UGC or whoever, and then trying to incorporate new things every time that they say that yes, we have to emulate the West and then have to be an excellent center. So that is what is being done and imposed upon everything on the students. So we need tuition, but then as we in the educational institutions also are have to have credibility. It's not that because we are educational institutions and they are tuition houses, they have to have credibility and we don't have to have credibility. That means credibility is needed from everyone. So I think ethics is the I would say that.
Yes, yeah, that's a very valid point made here. Let's accept the fact we have coaching centers, we have tuition centers, we have our best schools, and despite that we have these centers, and the least we can expect is for them, for the centers, for the schools, for the coaching centers to have the ethics in place. Ranjan, we are running out of time. Last words from you.
The only thing I would say, yes, I am not against any coaching center, but people who are running it, they should not only look at money. They should look at it as a service, they should provide it, and then they should make sure that they become more credible in future.
Mrs. Goyal, how would you tackle the situation whereby for the regular courses, your students need not be forced? By choice, they can of course go, but did not be forced to take up tuitions or go to coaching centers. By your students, I do not mean specifically Royal Global, but generally.
What I am trying to say is, I think whoever is running a school, all we educators need to ensure that we are sincere, we are dedicated, we are committed. Number one. Again, it goes to the parents. They need to ensure they push their children towards what the children are capable of. If they're not meant to be taking medicine or engineering, don't force them. They could be a lawyer, they could be a musician, they could be an artist. And thirdly, on the part of every child, they must also be disciplined and put in their best efforts to achieve what they have to. If all three of us work in tandem, I'm sure there would be no tutorials required or coaching centers.
Last words from you.
Actually, in my department, what we do, we invite resource persons from outside, like how to face interview, how to write an SOP, students and other things, and I think that has helped. I'm very happy to say recently one of my students has got into IIM, Ahmedabad. So that is, and they have also, I mean, in previous years also they have got admission, but this year, recently I have taken over headship. So that is how we try to, and maybe in future we'll try to help them more.
Somebody from the audience wants to make a point very quickly. We're running out of time.
Every children prefer to take coaching, and every parents want their child to give coachings, right? As ma'am said, that every children are in doubt. They're not clear with the concepts. What is right, what is not right. They're not even aware about the topic, because every children is not same. All fingers are not same.
Correct.
All are different.
I think
there
comes in to have more orientation programs for parents.
Yeah, there comes in also the
so
jobs.
Every school, like in a day, a school like it's 8 period, and like one class 30 minutes and 30 students. It's not even possible for the teachers to like explain all the concepts. So every school should have a special class. Out of the 8 periods, one class should be for a special period, special class for every children, so that they can clear the doubts out there.
The 9th class for clearing the doubts of the 8 classes. Anyway, we'll keep it at that. We'll keep it at that.
Remedial classes.
We will keep it at that here. Last words from you. As a coaching center, can you, for a moment, keep the commercial side apart and think of a brighter future of the students and their interests?
I am keeping the commercial side.
I mean, generally.
See, no doubt these things are required. As being in coaching industry since 12 years, what I have felt that the conventional system should be merged with the professional system, so that the more benefit can be given to the student community. What is required here, the school should allow the professional tutors or professional people to interact with the students, so that a better or a more coherent approach of learning can be given.
One good news, there are some colleges, people like Ranjan K. Barua, people like Dr. Bulajit Grohai, they are invited for the career curriculum.
Yeah, of course.
That is also the good
That
news.
is required. Not only career counseling.
Conventional.
What is required? The conventional system, wherever it is lacking, need to be merged with professional people, so that the net output should increase.
Absolutely,
okay?
absolutely.
That is
last words from you, Dr. Iqbal.
I would like to stick to something which I had already said earlier, that I don't think coaching centers should come up as centers of alternative learning, but as centers of specialized learning. You know, they should come in where they are required. They cannot replace a conventional educational system. Having said that, I would also like to add to what Mrs. Goyal had said, that we should encourage students to go for alternative professions, alternative careers as well. I have a nephew who recently got into Berkeley Music School, you know, who passed out from Sarla Bilra. So the thing is that what we are talking about is that, you know, we need to actually revamp the structure, number one, and we need to reorient the students. That, you know, there are not particular professions that you need to
complete revamption of the structure required. I'm afraid we have run out of time. So basically, let us accept the fact that coaching centers are there. They're here to stay. Hope the institutes, coaching centers all work together for the benefit of the students. On that note, we take your leave today. Tune in, same time next week for another issue. Till then, stay safe, stay well.
Thank you.